Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's Wednesday webinar. I'm Karen Menti. I'm a librarian with the UAGC Library, and I'm the liaison to the Forbes School of Business and Technology. Today, thank you for joining us. We have our October installment of the Wednesday webinar series. And as always, you'll be able to find this recording as well as an archive of our webinars past on the library CETL page. Today we have Jessica Gradetzi from Sage Publications here to walk us through CQ Researcher. We also have Ana Guimarães from Sage Publishing as well. Do you all want to say any words before we get started?
Hello, welcome. We're excited to talk to you, and we'll get started in just a second.
I second Jessica's welcome. Thank you all for showing up today, and thank you to Karen for inviting us to be here. I'm an engagement librarian with Sage Publishing. Both Jessica and I are on the library engagement team, so this is the type of work that we do, and we love going back and working directly with academic libraries. So very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to have you both here today to talk about what is one of my favorite resources in our collection at UAGC Library. I can't recommend CQ Researcher highly enough, especially for any sort of, I was saying this to Jessica ahead of time, but it's hard to find really foundational texts sometimes in the library. Of course, we have like uh, dense peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles, but to find really credible information about some of these really complex, controversial social, political issues. And this is the perfect resource for that sort of high-level overview of a complex debate. For example, recently in a course in Forbes, we used a CQ Researcher report on cryptocurrency because it just provided a really comprehensive overview of a complex subject like cryptocurrency. But I'll let Jessica get more into the nitty gritty about what reports are available on there. But I just wanted to begin by showing you how to find CQ Researcher in the library. So bear with me real quick. I'm going to share a new page of, should have my library screen up here. Can you see the library now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is our UAGC library. Students can get here through their Canvas course page or through their student portal. And the easiest way to get to any of our specific databases, of course, the Library One search box searches most of our databases at once. But let's say you, after this webinar, you decide, okay, I want to poke around in CQ Researcher. That looked really interesting. I would go to Find Articles and More. And then our databases A to Z list, to me, is the most easy way. If you know what database you're looking for, you can just jump alphabetically to C, for example, for CQ Researcher, and it takes you right there to CQ Researcher. And then you'll have to, if from the Canvas page, a student won't need to sign in here. They'll already be authenticated into the library. But of course, if you, like me, are not a student here, then you will need to enter that Canvas info for the Open Athens info. And here we are. So from here, I will stop my share and mute myself.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me get my screen shared up here. Okay, you should be seeing CQ Researcher. Is that the case, hopefully?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, thank you. Okay, again, thank you so much, everybody. I so appreciate your time. Like Karen said, my name is Jessica Gradetzi. I work with the library engagement team here at Sage, and I'm really excited to dive into CQ Researcher with you guys. So we're going to look closely at various features of the platform and also discuss how librarians, faculty, and instructors, and obviously our end users, the students, how they can use CQ Researcher most effectively. And by the way, like I believe Kira mentioned in the chat, please feel free to ask questions in the chat box. There will be monitors in there. And also, Karen and Kira, if you want to interrupt me to ask any questions, feel free to. I don't mind at all. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the content. So For those who may not be familiar with CQ Researcher, I'd like to talk just a little bit about what this resource is and what it actually provides to your users. So CQ Researcher is original, comprehensive reporting and in-depth, unbiased analysis on issues in the news. And reports are published online 44 times a year, and each report is researched and written by a seasoned journalist and is also professionally fact checked. So, the mission of CQ Researcher, or CQR, as you'll hear me call it as well, is to provide in depth, nonpartisan, timely, and academically rigorous coverage of the most important issues, controversies, and global affairs that are happening today. So what we see up here on the screen is the CQR homepage, and I'll just start us off with a little tour of what we're looking at here. So you'll always see the most recently published report here at the top of the page in the featured report section. The current featured report, as you can see, is Passenger Rail, which was published just on October 14th. And since these reports are published 44 times a year, they're always going to address something topical and timely and something currently or recently happening in the news, whether that be something here in the US or something happening globally. So under the featured reports, you'll see links to the 3 most recently published reports. And then under that, you'll see the titles and publication dates of the 2 upcoming reports. So we can see here that coming up is the United Kingdom's future and a report on church and state, which should be a pretty popular one. And then I also want to highlight this link here, suggest a topic. So, CQ Researcher readers often ask where the ideas for reports come from, how the publication is able to consistently offer such timely reports on topics in the news. And of course, CQR's editors and staff writers monitor current events through a wide range of outlets and journals. And they also track kind of broad trends across a variety of fields. But in addition, our editors are always interested to know if there is an issue of concern that users think would make an interesting and timely report topic. So all users are encouraged to use this link to suggest report topics or just share, any other thoughts or suggestions you may have about the publication. Okay. So continuing with our tour, over here on the right-hand side of the page is hot topics. So these hot topics are, exactly like it says, the latest updates to our most popular topics. They are abbreviated, shorter reports, and they are updated at least once a year. And they can be great introductions to what can be some obviously very complex topics. So these can be a great option for providing students with succinct overviews, and they're also really useful for demonstrating what academic writing should look like. They don't have all the same features of the full reports that we're going to look at more closely in a little bit, but they do provide things like a chronology of the topic. They still have clickable footnotes with links to sources. They also have links to related full reports. So if you do want to do that kind of deeper dive, you can dig deeper into those subjects as well. So those are the hot topics. Okay, I'm going to hop back up to the top of the page again. And up here in the upper right-hand corner is a search box, as well as a link to the advanced search page. So those can be great ways to find reports based on a specific term. But we also have a number of great ways to browse the reports in CQ Researcher. So here we see some drop-down menu options, including Browse Topics. And if we look at the Browse Topics drop-down, we can see right away there is a variety of topics that are represented here. And clicking into any one of these topics will open a page that gives you further subtopics. So it's really nice to get to some really specific content that you're browsing around for. And this browse topics menu, which as you can see is very multidisciplinary, I think is a really great place for students to come when they have a research assignment, but maybe they haven't decided on a topic or area of focus. I know that coming up with a research topic or a research question is an area that some students really struggle with. And this can be a really helpful tool if an assignment is open-ended and it's up to the student to choose their path. So, you can look at this list of topics and students can kind of start to consider what areas may interest them, or we might ask a student struggling with choosing a direction. If I asked you to pick one of these topics to read about, which topic would you gravitate to? Sorry, I just need to close this window that just popped up over here. Okay, so as we know, open-ended research assignments can be really nice for students who feel comfortable in deciding a focus, but they can also seem overwhelming to students who don't know where to start. So these report topics in CQ Researcher start really broad and then get narrower into subtopics when you click onto one of them. So it's really helpful as a guide for students in learning how to narrow their research focus and decide on a particular research question. So let's go ahead and jump into one of the topics so you can see what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and click into health, and then you'll see the subtopics that are listed under health. So we see subtopics on health-related issues like cancer, infectious diseases, and so on. But then we also see things like health insurance and pharmaceuticals and nursing homes. So a really broad range of topics. I'm going to go ahead and click into, let's say, mental health. Which is then going to give us a list of reports that are organized in chronological order with the most recent report at the top of the list. So you'll see a few reports include this short report tag, which means this is going to be a shorter report than the traditional full reports. But similar to the hot topic reports that we saw on the homepage, these short reports do give still have a chronology, still have footnotes, links to outside sources, links to related full reports. So again, these can also be a great place for students to start on these topics. I want to point out, by the way, you'll probably notice here that there are multiple reports titled like LGBT, LGBTQ. So I point that out because one great thing about CQR reports is that when a report is updated, the previous report is not removed from the archive or updated or changed. So a researcher can go in here and see exactly what was happening around LGBTQ rights and how were we talking about it? What was the focus? Then they could compare that older report to the updated 2021 report and see how the topic has changed. What was being said in 2021 or 2015 or 2016 that we weren't talking about in previous years. And obviously, these particular reports aren't very old and there isn't a big length of time between them. But because of the depth of this CQ archive, depending on how far back your library's access goes, it's entirely possible to look at reports that might even be years or decades apart on a particular topic and see how the conversation and language around something has really changed. And, if I scroll down through this section on mental health, you'll see we have access to reports all the way back to 1948. So the archive really goes back. It actually starts in 1923, I want to say is when, yes. That's right. So speaking of the archive, I do want to give you just a little bit of background around what is now known as CQ Researcher. So it did first begin back in 1923, so close to, gosh, we're almost at 100 years ago now. Um, And it first started with two Washington correspondents who covered Congress and provided background reports and analysis on what was happening in the federal government. And they provided those to, small towns across the country. And today, that full archive contains over 4,000 reports now. And when we think about today, we're in a time when news is often reduced to those clickbait headlines and sound bites, but CQ Researcher, continues to offer trusted, in-depth, balanced looks at today's most pressing issues. And CQ Researcher is more reliable and accurate than many news sources. Every report you find in this resource was written by experienced journalists with professional fact checkers versus it being aggregated content. And especially great for new and inexperienced researchers, these reports are more accessible than a typical traditional reference work. And CQ Researcher reports can really serve as a bridge between that standard journalistic coverage, which is less authoritative than CQ Researcher, and that specialized kind of scholarly fare, which is less timely and also less accessible to novice users. That's just a little bit of background on CQ Researcher. Let's go ahead and get into a full report so we can talk about the format. I'll go ahead and click on Health and Society here. So this report looks at social conditions as they relate to health and medical outcomes. So every report includes a title with a great concise question that will really help readers frame the report and give them a kind of guiding thought as they read through the various sections of the report. And then by the end, students or readers should feel able to answer the question. In this case, would better social conditions improve medical outcomes? And all of the content they're going to read in this report is going to help them answer that question confidently. And one of the most important things students should be doing, as we know, when they're evaluating sources, is considering the author of the content. What are the author's credentials? What is his or her educational background? Where do they work? And what are the values or goals of that organization or institution? Are they an expert in this field? And a great feature of the CQ Researcher reports is that the author's name is always displayed at the top of the report, and it's a hyperlink to more information about the author's background and previous work. There's actually two ways to get to that information. So like I just did, I just clicked on the author's name, or there's also an About the Author section of this navigation pane over here on the left. And, a lot of times students really have to dig to find this information, but it's made extremely easy in CQ Researcher. And so these reports can be a great way for librarians and faculty to demonstrate to students what a source should provide in terms of background information about the author. So, speaking of the report menu, you'll see it over here on the left-hand side of the report. And again, it's identical in every report. So readers are always going to find the same sections and organization to every report in CQ Researcher, starting with a brief introduction, followed by an overview of the topic that highlights key points, research studies, statistics, and controversies, and explains why the readers should care about the topic. So included in the overview section are 3 different examinations of the major areas of debate surrounding the topic, with authoritative sources expressing a wide variety of views. So in this report, the background questions that are explored, let's see if I can excuse my scrolling while I search for these. So our first question that's explored is, does a focus on social determinants of health make a difference? Can addressing health-related social factors reduce health disparities? And should the government pay more for social services? So, was that the first question? Yeah. So really addressing this topic from a variety of angles. And all of these questions are providing the student or reader with more information to help them answer that question at the beginning of the report. And all of these things are going to be factors in determining whether or not better social conditions would improve medical outcomes. So, in addition, these three separate examinations in this overview section can provide really great practice in paraphrasing and summarizing both sides of an argument. So, for example, this first section, does a focus on social determinants of health make a difference? In this section, evidence is provided to support both the idea that yes, it does make a difference, and also no, it doesn't. So there's one way instructors could use these reports as an assignment. They could provide the overview section to students and say, pick one of the questions and summarize the main points made on both sides of the argument as a way to practice that skill. And then the background section of each report provides a historical review of the topic that explains to readers how key issues developed over time and places the report in its proper historical context. So we know that having that background information is crucial to students being able to kind of move past a basic understanding and into evaluating and analyzing a topic. And in this case, the background section is going to provide information on the history of public health concerns, the development of health insurance, and background on how research in the late 20th century started to look at how social factors affected individual health. And then next is the current situation section. This is going to provide an exposition of where key elements of the topic stand today, with a special emphasis on what is happening in the courts, in Congress, the state legislatures, and other judicial and policy centers. And by the way, one thing to note is that each footnote is clickable. And not only do these footnotes help demonstrate and model academic writing, but it also shows them what it looks like when you integrate other sources into your research and give them the appropriate credit, which I know a lot of students and novice writers struggle with. And also, these clickable footnotes are a great way for students to find additional sources to continue their own research. So, for example, this section of this report is discussing the pandemic and how it has caused unemployment and a loss of health insurance, since so many people's insurance is tied to their employment. And if we click on this footnote like I did, you'll see it includes a link directly to the source. I can click that to open the original article from this government agency. And if I was a student doing research on federal health insurance enrollment, this could be a great source for me. And so faculty and librarians could demonstrate this process in instruction and give students opportunities to practice this as a research assignment. So as an example, maybe an instructor could assign students a particular section of the report. And after reading the section, a student would need to follow one citation to another source and do some additional research on the topic. And then what did they learn from the additional source that wasn't in the CQR report? And having that, practice that process of branching out to additional sources can be really valuable. And doing this through a CQ researcher report will guarantee that the sources they're accessing are going to be credible and accurate and reliable. So each report also contains an Outlook section, which is basically a wrap-up in which experts project where key aspects of the topic will stand 5 to 10 years in the future. And in this case, the ALEC section is looking specifically at the new presidential administration and how that might change the government's response to the pandemic, as well as intensify the focus on health disparities across society. So these 5 sections that we've talked about so far, taken together, can be used to show students a model of at least one way that a research paper could be structured, starting with an introduction, providing an overview of the topic, explaining the background, describing the current situation, and then concluding with an outlook towards the future. It's really a timeless way to present a research paper, and each of these reports could be used as a model or a roadmap to show students what that looks like in academic writing. Okay, so we're going to keep going and look at some additional sections of the report. And a really valuable section in terms of teaching students to evaluate and analyze arguments is the pro-con section. This is also a great section to use when presenting or teaching fact versus opinion. This section provides a question, in this case, should the government pay more for social services? And then provides these 400-word essays from outside experts who argue a yes or no position on this vital question related to the report. And you'll see that the authors' names and credentials are included at the top of their section. So again, not only is this encouraging students to consider who is making each argument, but it's modeling what a reliable source should do when presenting information. Who is the information coming from, and what makes them a trustworthy and reliable source? And, being able to present an analysis of the two sides of an argument is an important skill that certainly takes time and practice to develop. So this section is one that could be used really completely on its own, even without the full report, as a separate assignment. These pro-con sections are short enough that faculty could model the process of reading both sides and presenting an analysis in class, or faculty could use this as a great discussion starter. For example, students could be asked to read both arguments and pick a side and explain why they agree with that argument as opposed to the other. And I will show you in a bit a way that you can actually find these pro-con sections separately from the full reports as well. Okay. So now I'm actually going to quickly, let me open this in a new tab. I'm going to quickly hop over to a newer report so that I can show you a new section that has been added. And the reason I opened a new report is because these are not included in old reports. So this is a new section that was introduced just last year, and that is the discussion questions. So I'll give that a second to load as I'm describing it. So this is a series of questions that are meant to help organize classroom discussions and help stimulate student reflection on the topic. And they're also great for online forum discussion prompts, if that's something that you use as faculty and instructors. And also something to keep in mind is this enhancement. Like I mentioned, it's not retroactive. So any report published before March of 2021 will not have this section, but anything current or published after March 2021 will include them. So I just wanted to be sure to show that to you because the report that I've been reviewing with you is older, so it does not have that section. Okay. So let's keep going. The next section is the chronology, which provides a snapshot of the full report, and it works really well in conjunction with the background section to provide context for the topic and explain how this particular topic has developed over time. So in this case, the chronology goes back to the 1840s when social reformers first began looking at factors affecting public health, all the way through to 2020 when we all began dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting spotlight on health disparities. And then we also have the short features section, which provides short articles that take a closer look at a specific aspect of the larger report topic. And again, these can be great to use on their own, but they also provide, excuse me, that additional context on the larger topic for students engaged in research. The maps and graphs section contains any maps, charts, graphs that are used throughout the report. So students or readers will see these graphs in other sections of the report, but they're also all collected here in this section as a way for you to easily find and access them as opposed to having to scroll through the entire report looking for some graph that they previously saw. And I love these because they provide that great visual aspect that will help students engage with the content a little deeper and encourage analysis. And they're also great for faculty to pull out and use as discussion starters or prompts ahead of introducing a report as a way to get into this topic. And then the last few menu options here are going to assist readers with further research on the topic. So the bibliography, similar to the footnotes, provides academic citations with links and a short annotation. And then the next step section provides some additional sources broken up in categories related to the report. So we have food insecurity and government spending and health insurance and housing insecurity. And again, this can be a great section for modeling to students how to expand their research beyond a single source and makes it easy for them to get there with the provided links and citations. There's also a contacts section, which will give them contact information for related public policy think tanks and institutions that they could use for further research, or if they want to browse their websites or contact them with questions or comments or feedback, all that contact information is in here. So those are the sections of the report. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Actually, I want to move over to talk about this issue tracker. I forgot to mention that. So you'll see the issue tracker on the right-hand side of the page. This is a great feature that gives readers access to related reports on this topic as far back as your library has access to. So I believe you also have access to the full CQ Researcher archive. So you should see reports in this case all the way back to 1924. The issue tracker provides students with a view of, you can think of it as a view of the evolution of an issue or a topic over time. And in this case, that topic is disease. And then below the issue tracker, you'll also see links to browse related topics. And then looking above the issue tracker, you'll notice a variety of icons that represent some very useful tools. So first is the option to download the PDF of the full report. So you can print the PDF from there. You have another nice option for printing, which is this option here where you can actually choose specific sections if you would like to. So some nice options for printing. You can also grab the citations directly from the platform and you can choose from these different formats up here, or you can also export your citations. And we can also email reports. So if you're working with a partner, another faculty member, with a librarian, or you just want to be able to share a report with somebody, you can do that directly from the platform itself. And then also, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, you can save the report to your profile. Okay. Another thing to note, by the way, is that every URL for every page in CQ Researcher is its own permalink. So you can always share a link to a specific section of a report via email, or if you post it to a course management system or a forum, the students will go directly to that section that you want them to read or access. Okay. Let's see. I want to go back up to the top menu bar. So we started earlier in the session by looking at the Browse Topics menu, but I want to look at the Browse Reports menu now that you've seen the features of the reports. So the Browse Reports menu allows users to find reports by date, by issue, by pro-con section, or we can also browse all of the Hot Topics reports. So by date is a really good way to see all of the reports listed by year. It starts with the most recent year and will go back as far as your library has access. So users can click into a particular year and see, what was going on then. And then you can also, excuse me, browse by issue tracker. So it's going to provide an alphabetical list of topics, and clicking into any of these is going to provide the full issue tracker as far back as you have access. So users will be able to see all of the reports in CQ Researcher related to a specific issue. So if we just click into the first one, for example, you'll see the most recent report is from September 9th, 2022, and you can also see all of the reports related to this issue that's been published throughout the years, all the way back from the first report published in 1965. And then the pro-con section is going to work very similarly. So this is going to provide the pro-con argument sections of the full reports organized by topic. So for example, I'll just click into animal rights here. You'll see the title of the full report and the date of publication, but you'll also see the actual question that is posed in the pro-con section. So users can either click on the question to get directly to the pro-con section, or they can click on the title to go directly to the full report. So again, I think the pro-con section really can stand alone as a resource for librarians and faculty who are teaching information literacy or teaching analysis and evaluation. So this is a helpful way to get directly to those pro-con arguments. Okay, so next I want to show you the features that are available to users who create a profile in CQ Researcher. So if we look at this using CQR dropdown, you'll see the link to your profile. I'll go ahead and click on there. And I'm already logged in, but it'll take you to your profile homepage if you're logged in. So the excuse me, I'm just gonna grab some water. So users with a profile have access to 4 tools in CQ Researcher. They have the ability to save documents as favorites. They have the ability to see the documents they've previously accessed in the platform. They have the ability to save searches, and they also have the ability to create topic alerts. So the favorite documents section not only gives you an easy way to come back into the platform and find reports that you've saved, but it also gives you the ability to favorite a number of reports and email them either to yourselves or to someone else all at once. So for example, a faculty member could favorite a few related reports and then email all of those reports to a student or a research partner all at once, as opposed to having to go and email each report individually. So you would just, for example, favorite some reports, come to your favorite documents section of your profile. You can check mark all the reports you want to share, and then you can email mark records. And it's just as easy as that. Okay, and then Document history, like I said, that's just a listing of all the documents that you've clicked on. But the next option is to create saved searches or to access your saved searches. And the nice thing about this section is that it actually does allow you to create a search. Excuse me. Grab some water again. So it allows you to create a search, maybe an advanced search with a number of different parameters. And then you can come back into the platform and run that search with the click of a button without having to set up the search all over again. So I've got one safe search that I set up that includes a number of terms related to the coronavirus pandemic. So I can come into my profile anytime and click on the title of the search to rerun it and see if any additional content has been added since I created the search. And then the topic alerts is probably my favorite part of the CQ Researcher profile. Um, since, new reports are published 44 times a year and the hot topics are updated throughout the year as well, this topic alert feature can be really helpful in staying on top of new content as it's added to the platform. So users can create topic alerts from within the profile as well. Excuse me. And you can also do it directly from the search results. So if we do a search for, let's go ahead and do a search up here for climate change. I'll get to a search results page. And then from here, we can do a number of things. We can click on the star to add this report as a favorite. So if you might remember the star when we were looking at the report page, that was the save function. So it's the same here. You can click on the star to save it as a favorite. And you can also save the entire search. If you click on save this search, I don't know why that pops up so small, but you'll see all that's required if you want to save a search is to give your search a title and then click save, and then it'll be saved to your profile. You'll see we can also create a topic alert. And so just give your topic alert a title, which email you want the alerts to go to, and then click save. And then you can also search for this content across other CQ Press resources. So if your library owns or subscribes to any other CQ Press content, you can use this link here to find additional related content on that topic. And then I want to click into a report to show you one other feature. Let's click on climate change and health. That will provide additional related content in other SAGE resources. So once you're in a report, you'll notice this blue SAGE Recommends button over here on the right-hand side of the page. And SAGE Recommends is going to provide users with related content that is available on other SAGE platforms. So in this case, this is suggesting books and reference content from Sage Knowledge. It's also probably going to show us some articles from Sage journals. So again, just another way to branch out and find additional sources and expanding their research beyond the CQ Researcher report. Okay, so the last section I want to show you before we wrap up is the section here for librarians. I know we have faculty on the call too, but you may find some useful information in here as well. And what I want to point out to you are these user guides and tutorial videos. So there's a lot of great content in here. There's some sample lesson plans, some sample assignments that might be worth checking out if you want some inspiration or some templates on how you can integrate this resource into your instruction. There's this wonderful roadmap to research that's worth checking out. And I'll also send links of these in a follow-up email to Karen, and maybe Karen can help me share that out to you guys as well. And then there's also some nice tutorial videos linked here as well. So if you have students who are interested in using this resource, or if you ever need a refresher, it's all linked directly on the platform itself. You can always access those. Oh, and then we also have our CQ Library LibGuide. So feel free to check that out as well. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's also some downloadable posters. There's some downloadable PowerPoint slides, some, all kinds of downloadable stuff in here. So well worth checking out. And again, that is the librarian account. It's kind of a misleading name, I think, but both faculty and librarians can find some useful information in here.
It's so nice that you guys make that just freely available on the website, because I know there's a lot of good stuff in that guide
Yes.
and stuff worth checking out. So thank you.
Yes, we try to make it easy and helpful for you guys.
Well, I can't thank you enough. This is such a great resource, and I'm so excited to see in the chat so many faculty excited about using this resource. It's one of our favorites as librarians, and we just can't recommend it highly enough. And we had some great suggestions in the chat to get some resources out there so that you faculty can share them more easily. Let your students know about this awesome collection with CQ researchers. So along with this recording, I'm going to be sending out an HTML announcement, and I'll just keep it very sort of generic if you want to tailor it to your specific course or something like that, or maybe put a link into a specific guide. Let me know. I'm happy to work with you. Students do need to be authenticated into the library in order to access the reports, but just talk to a librarian. You can email us. We'll drop the link to our email in the chat as well. And we will work with you to make sure that students can access any report directly from your course. Putting the email in now. But any questions for Jessica or Anna while we have them here?
I have a question.
Okay.
What when I go into the home page and I see the search box at the top, but then when I click advanced search, what's the difference between just search after the enter word or phrase or search content from CQ Press?
So search content from CQ Press is actually going to search across. So these are other databases and other resources that are CQ Press resources. So the one on the advanced search page is going to search within CQ Researcher within this specific database. And this is going to search across all CQ Press databases
That we have access to, correct? Because when I open it, all I get is CQ Researcher plus archive.
Okay.
That's all I get. Yeah.
Yes. So this page is subscription sensitive. So if you don't have access to any of the other databases, then you're not going to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Sure.
Jessica?
Yes.
Someone made a request in the chat, and they asked if you could double back to the sharing function so that you can demonstrate, how to share a specific section of a report to students, for example.
Okay. Yeah. So I assume you mean within a report?
Yes.
Okay. So from here, you can do it a couple different ways. So you can either well, I think you mean the email. So you can click on the email icon within the report. If you want to send the full report to, say, a student, for example, you just come to the full report page and you can click email. If you want to send a specific section, you can just navigate to that section. And this is a permalink to this section. So now if you click on email from here, then, just enter the email. You can add a message. You have the option to send yourself a copy of that email, and you can then email this specific section to the recipient. Another way to do it is you can also get the PDF. And I forgot to open that up and show that to you guys. So you have the option to download the PDF and you can share it that way. But I think for the most flexibility and ease of use would just be to navigate to the specific section and then email it from there.
I have another question.
Okay.
If you save it, for example, I just created a profile, and then I was just following along and I saved a particular document and it says it was saved to favorites. Where is that? And I have no idea.
Oh, yes. Okay. So once you save content and say you want to be able to access it again in the future, then
Right.
you're going to go to using CQR. You're going to
Ah.
go to either log into your profile or favorite documents.
Okay.
And the favorite documents is going to be where everything, where
So,
you click on the
perfect.
star, it's all going to be saved here.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. And if you just click log into your profile, it will take you to kind of that home profile navigation page where you can access or see all of the different sections
Got it.
at once. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Okay, thank you so much. These are great questions. Any
Yes.
others before we wrap up for this month?
Nope. This was great.
Great. All right, well, I will make sure I'll send out the recording for this as soon as I have a link ready for it and an HTML announcement so that you can share this awesome resource with your students. And please tell your colleagues about it, tell students about it. You know, let's get the word out about CQ Researcher because as we've seen, it's just an amazing tool. So thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you, Anna, for being here. You guys were wonderful.
Our pleasure. So glad to join you guys. And thank you again so much for your time, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Take care.
You too. Bye.